Belizean workers' rights reasoning. This is the second season, episode 8. I'm the producer and host, Sista YaYa Marin Coleman. Thanks for being with us. And our co-host tonight is our Breda Dean Flowers, who happens to be the president of the Public Service Union. In the first half, both Dean and I will reason about grievances and non-union members. And then at 7:30, the participants will engage us collectively in this conversation. It lasts 1 hour. Brother Dean, good night. How are you being?
Good night, YaYa. Doing well, thank you. Blessed as usual, with life, with health, with strength. And I'm pleased to be here. I feel like I haven't been here for a while.
Yeah, it sure feels that way. Good night, Migs.
Brother Miguel from North Corozal.
Okay, good night, Brother Miguel from Corozal. So, good night, Trish. Thanks for making the sacrifice for being with us. So, Brother Dean, I know you asked Sister Trish to take some classes out at Cipriani. I'm going to read one book. I'm going to actually talk about the man Rene Cipriani, who lead the movement, who was an active unionist. So the reason why we have this conversation tonight is because last week, I believe I was hosting WB and someone called in who was not a union member, had a grievance. And then I thought, well, if you're not a union member and you have a grievance, what can you do? Which is why people are encouraged to join unions. So if and when you have a grievance, you have representation. But then when you have one grievance and you're not a part of a union, what then, Brother Dean? What are your options?
Well, there is absolutely no discrimination between union members and non-union members. Absolutely none. I think that if anybody says that there's discrimination, I would have to say that there's discrimination against union members within the public service. But if you're not a member of the union, the first thing, of course, that I'd like to say to you is that there is power or there's strength in numbers. And it is only collectively that we are able to address most, if not all, the issues that are affecting us. The avenues available to unionized workers is the exact same avenue that is available to non-unionized workers. Unionized workers pay a monthly union fee, what we call membership fee. And different unions have different rates. So the rates within the public service union would be different from what CWU or BNTU. So each union establishes their rate. In the public service union, we have two rates, $15 and $20. $15 would be for those who are on pay scale 1 to 9, and anybody above that, it's $20. What's important that what non-union members should focus on is how are we governed within the public service regulations in terms of grievances? How do we address misunderstandings, injustices, harassment? What does the regulation say about that? In addition to that, if they're not a permanent established officer within the public service, they want to look at what does the general workers regulation says about how do you handle grievances in the GWR for open vote employees. So that's the first thing they will need to do, is ascertain their status. GWR, permanent establishment. Both documents will outline the procedures to be followed. However, when it comes to the permanent established staff, there is a provision within the PSR for the workers' representative to establish a separate grievance procedures, which is what we have in place. And that grievance procedure outlines the processes. A grievance is lodged by a PE member, whether unionized or not. That member is able to go to I'll say shop steward, but in our case, we would normally refer to them as liaison officer. So you're free to go to a liaison officer to inform that liaison officer that you have an issue. The liaison officer, of course, would inquire, are you a union member or not? If you are a union member, the liaison officer would willingly inform you or question you as to whether or not you would like for them to go and see if they can address the issue with your immediate supervisor, which we encourage. We encourage that we try to.
Brother Dean, they would do that whether you're current with your dues or not?
Well, remember, all or 95, I would say 95% of union members have a salary deduction order. So most of them are financial. There may be one or two because of their employment status. Perhaps they're employed with IT vet or and they're in independence or somewhere, and then the banking system does not allow for their employer to make that deduction. And so there might be a 1 month delay there or so on. But I would say we're comfortable with the system that we have in place. So if you are a union member, it is very likely that you would be up to date with your dues and that you would be financial. So that liaison officer would, of course, firstly speak to you and say, look, okay, this is an issue. Perhaps we can address it at the departmental level. They would make that attempt. If they are unsuccessful, then they would then refer that matter to the branch chair or a member of the branch executive. The branch chair also has the authority to try to reach out to the supervisor, to the CEO, to the head of department to see if they can resolve the grievance issue. If they are unsuccessful as well, they then refer that to head office, which is Belmopan, where we have an industrial relations officer, which is, and normally, I would say 90% of the time, we would put pen to paper rather than make any additional effort to dialogue with the offending party. We would write to them to register the grievance and ask for a response. If a response is not forthcoming from the head of department or CEO within the ministry, we, in accordance with the grievance procedures, they're allowed, I think we give them 14 days to respond. Thereafter, we write directly to the CEO of the ministry and we said, look, this is a matter that is brewing. We would like to resolve it. And there are a lot of, I mean, there's a 1,000,001 grievance, YaYa. It could be a matter of, as I stated, harassment, promotion, study leave, people not getting their appraisal done, people being treated unfairly, whether they're being victimized. It happens. It happens whether they're being insulted at work. It happens whether they're not being allowed to function in an environment that is conducive to work. All of these things could amount to a grievance.
How do you know when it's just how would the employee know that this is a one-off conflict I'm having with maybe a coworker or a supervisor? How do you know when it has reached grievance level?
Okay, well, let me use a anonymous example. The public officer is at work and there is another officer who keeps bullying her, offending her, insulting her. She does her best not to react because she's perhaps afraid that the supervisor would side with the other offending party. So she goes to the supervisor and she said, look, such and such person keeps throwing negative words at me, keeps throwing insults at me, does not cooperate with me in terms of getting the work done. I think she has something personal against me. I would like for you to please sit her down, or we can sit down and try to resolve this issue. The supervisor, oh man, no, that girl, and and shun it off, don't take it serious, or approaches the person, but the behavior does not resolve itself or does not change, does not stop, the person goes back, I would always advise public officers, unionize or not. After you do that first notification, start putting it in writing. And nothing stops you from putting the first complaint in writing. Document, document, document. Because you might need those documentation when this matter blows over or you react and do something or say something that you shouldn't have done or said. But at least you would have had the documentation to show that you reacted as a result of your supervisor, your head of department, your CEO, not having addressed this issue, and that is why you might have reacted in that aggressive manner towards that co-worker that was offending you. So even, if you believe that it has not reached a point of a grievance, you as a member, you have the right to reach out to the union and to ask us for guidance. Bring your concern to us. We will assess it and we will tell you whether or not, you know what, this is something that it's best we take over from here, or this is something that perhaps we might go in with if we address because it could boil over. So I don't know that I can pin to a specific point that I would say once you see this start happen, it has reached the boiling point of a grievance. It's each situation would vary, you know. But like I said, so we would write, hoping to get a response. In some cases we do, in some cases we don't. In some cases we sit and we try to iron things out. That has also occurred because speaking to each other is always advisable. If we don't make any progress within that ministry or department, we then, after the expiration of 21 days, or we're very generous with the manner in which we treat these departments because we would send them 2 and 3 reminders. So we don't stick to the letter of the law, but the regulations and the procedures have specific days within which they are to respond. Following the expiration of those days, we would then take that grievance directly to the Ministry of Public Service, who is ultimately responsible for the welfare of public officers within the public sector. And all those steps that I outlined are not only applicable to unionized members, it is also applicable to non-unionized members. Non-unionized members can take those steps on their own. And if it's their rights that is being violated, they are free to take their complaint to a private individual for advice. I see Brother Hubert Enriquez here. He might not be a recognized representative to negotiate on behalf of public officers, but he can be a representative for a non-unionized worker who is being taken advantage of. He is able to appear before the commission or write to any CEO to represent that officer if it is that officer rights as a worker is being violated. Because the regulation speaks to the public officer or his or her representative. And that representative does not have to be a union. In issues of negotiation, where we're negotiating interests now, it is only the recognized union. And so when you see cases go before the commission, you will see attorneys appear, you will see private citizens appear, you will see public officers appear themselves. So non-unionized members, the public service union can represent you, and we do that at a small fee of $150, but nothing stops you from going to your auntie with an attorney or your uncle who are properly educated and well-read or a retired public officer for guidance and for representation. So no non-unionized worker should feel that they do not have any recourse if it is that they're suffering some form of grievance within the public service.
The situation that came in on WB is for an individual who's a land agent. Okay. Would a land agent be considered a public servant?
Absolutely not. She's not employed and she does not have a contractual relationship with the government of Belize. She's a private citizen in private, and that's a self-employment trade. Because of the service that agents, and I put agents because I don't know if they're recognized under law. We have land agents, we have vital stats people, agents, we have passports agents, we have one.
I'm sorry, it's not a land agent, it's a vital stats agent. And my question is, if these people are not employed by the state, how is it that the state has been in partnership with them?
All right, and that's why I said that because of the essential service that they provide to the public, these offices have found it more suitable to deal with these agents. And I won't shy away from where you'll get at, YaYa. It has not always ensured that things go the way they should, and that the relationship is above board where anti-corruption is concerned. Because and we can't stop anybody. We can't stop anybody from being an agent, because that is exactly what the law firms do. That is exactly what the law firms do under the guise of being a law firm, that they provide these type of services. So before, we used to see all these land agents and these type of agents, the law firms were getting all of that business. And when you go to the lands department, as a matter of fact, most of the agents that you will see there are representatives from law firms. So to these Belizeans who have taken it up upon themselves to self-employ themselves and to get a part of that pie, salute to them, and I encourage them to keep doing so. It's a service that the Belizean people need, because the services for which agents exist is frustrating for the Belizean man and woman. It's very frustrating. So they prefer to pay someone $100, $10, or $50 for them to go through that stress for them. That, however, also contributes to why your application in any one of these offices, YaYa, goes from number 1 to number 100. Because the agent then finds a public officer on the inside that he can go directly to and get expedited services. When all those who catch the line applications are put aside. So we have to also acknowledge and come to the realization that while agents are good for the general public, it is also bad for the general public. Now, as it relates to that sister, I heard her call that morning, a single mother, trying to make a penny out of 15 cents on a daily basis. And the first thing I asked myself, what empowers the registrar to ban the assistant, the deputy registrar, I think it was, or assistant registrar, to think that he or she is empowered to ban anybody from a public building? My experience and my reading of the public service regulations has highlighted that no assistant registrar, no head of department, no CEO, no minister has any authority to ban any member of the public from any public building. Absolutely none. It's not legislated. If someone is misbehaving, certain offices have security officers and security guards. That person should be asked to kind of leave the premises and to change their behavior when they come back, because they have a right to enter any public building to access services that is offered there. If the person is out of line and might have broke any section of the Constitution where the criminal code, the office should call in the police. If the security firm is authorized to detain, the person is guilty of a serious crime, detain her, till the police come. I have the police escort her and go to the police station and launch her complaint against the individual, and the matter is addressed in the court. The head of department, the CEO, the minister, anybody that believes they're in control of a government building also has the right to go to the police station, as I stated, and ask that a order be issued for Dean Flowers to be banned from a ministry, but that has to go through the courts. Only the courts can order a restraining order against me to enter a government building. So that sister should have returned the following day. The following day, she should have returned respectfully and ready to carry out her business of the day. And if she was denied entry and she lost money for that day, she should have then gone to see an attorney to take out a suit at the expense of the government because of what the registrar did, for which he or she was not empowered to do. And I want to encourage people, we cannot be afraid to go to court. We cannot be afraid to go to the legal aid center, even though the government, but get the advice, and after you get the advice, take legal recourse. We have to utilize the courts. That's the only way public officers will start acting right, because some of them are usurping their authority. I have to say.
You see, you can say this now. Like, I wish you had told me this earlier, because this is week 2. The sister doesn't have $150 for Vagina Union. And this is where grassroots people take lick, because there's nobody in real time who they trust, who has the knowledge to advise them on what to do. 2 weeks she's at home and she can't feed the children and she doesn't know what to do. I was told that it falls under the solicitor, the Attorney General office, a call. The Solicitor General is on vacation. They said the next person, the assistant registrar, when it really should have been the registrar and not the assistant registrar. The assistant registrar either left a message, has a call back, cannot get through to the registrar. What do I do?
As I stated, YaYa, I am sure that there are a lot of human rights attorneys out there in Belize that would be prepared.
Brother, no attorney not the work. Look here, I don't know what world in live in, but most of the attorneys that Belize, I tell you for lived experience. You call them, they don't answer you. They answer you, most of them not keep their word and do what they say they want to do when they want to do it. That is absolutely frustrating. And they tired of work pro bono. Then they have a lot of work to do and they're really not able to.
Yeah.
So if you could tell me what attorney will help the sister right now, I want to text her right now.
Yeah. So I will see if I can contact one couple of my colleagues then, especially, and some of these cases would be excellent cases for young junior attorneys for them to practice, because look, it is only by practicing that you will get perfect. Stop going into these large law firms, but push paper and do research. A lot of people are out here seeking services, and you could start with, well, I don't know how much they charge, but that's my encouragement to the younger attorneys. But I'll see how I can find out which attorney or attorneys will be prepared to assist the system. But the first thing the system wants to do, YaYa, is to report to the Vital Stats Department each and every day. Because remember, she has to quantify her loss. She has to quantify her loss. So if you go tomorrow and she's not allowed to do business, she needs to quantify her loss and her expenses. And when she goes back on Monday, she needs to quantify her loss and her expenses until such time that her case is heard and to such time that she can get the legal assistance that she needs. She also needs to put it in writing to the Attorney General that somebody, the act ultra vires their authority, that she's being denied and that on a daily basis, she's losing 150, 250, whatever amount of money they lose. And informing the Attorney General that failure to correct that officer's behavior will result in me taking legal action against the Attorney General's ministry and the government of Belize. Those are the steps that she has to take first, so that when we go to court, she got bases covered. Like also,
Yeah, but this is what I'm asking. There's so many Belizean workers who are not union members, who are not listening to WB, who are not on Facebook. Where are those people support? You have union members who don't know this information and are accepting serious wrongs done to them, much less non-union members.
Mhm.
So where are people to go? Like, what?
Yeah.
There's not a space where there's consistent information where people can go and be assured that they'll be treated with dignity.
Mm.
That's another thing, how people talk to you when they know you're just one regular person, you don't have no bag of money for getting for the service, and then just drag you around, brother. People prefer keep believing that dignity what they have than for have people to treat them like that.
As I stated somewhere in my comments as well, there's a legal aid office. There is a legal aid office, which is
okay. There's a legal aid office. Have you gone to legal aid before?
I've never.
This is what legal aid tell you. Okay, if you're an impoverished person, it no matter if legal aid costs $10, you don't have $10. You know what people, and I'm not making excuses for impoverished people. This is real. Secondly, they will tell you sometimes that they represent the state. And so they're not going against the state. Who fund the legal aid office?
The state.
Who work in there?
Workers of the state.
Look here, man.
What I'm trying to say, YaYa, is that we can't lose hope. We have to explore the avenues that are available to us. We cannot be pessimistic about everything, because then we won't get anything done.
But Dean, I'm not, and this is what you need to hear. Unless you're on the ground with people day in and day out, having these experiences and feeling people's frustration, my friend, I'm telling you, I am like done with the attorneys. String load at them, brother. I personally call, text, go to the office, they not show up. I tell you, brother. No, you might not have problem like quite wrong way. So at this point, they're like, yo, it is what it is. Then got so much people appearing, and then some of the impoverished people, brother, pay people for their services and people not show up the court.
Yeah. I've heard.
I mean, and then people don't know that you could report these attorneys, and we need to start reporting these attorneys more. I forget what the body name we report attorneys to. But you know, it's time consuming. People that try hustle for live. It's COVID. It's not that people want to be pessimistic, but it's for people like you in leadership to really hear that these are serious concerns that need to be advocated for, and people need to be held accountable. And
I am hearing your frustration, which you're expressing on behalf of the Belizean people who simply are frustrated, YaYa. However, we will not get anything, and we will not get anywhere if we don't persevere. Nothing.
I had to tell you, and I had to do this for 16 years. I totally understand why people said to hell it. To hell it.
No.
Seriously.
No.
And I don't want, listen to me, I don't want advocate, and I just say as long as you have life, you have hope. But I could understand why Belizean people give up. I can, brother. Yeah. I can. There's no going around that. So it's not on the, they're not the people that need to keep bring pressure on and say no give up. They're the professionals that need to bring pressure on. That the whole pressure need to come on.
Well, YaYa, as a leader, I do my best to try to always remain objective and impartial on all issues, and I don't defend my own. And a lot of people aren't happy with that, but I stand by that. I believe that better must come, and better will only come if we speak out and we call out our own. Change begins with me. Change begins with us. And I understand the frustration, YaYa, but What if all of us throw our hands up? Then the system will persist. When Mahatma Gandhi, when people,
It's 7:30. All I'm saying is that people have the right to be frustrated and true. That's all that is said. Allow people a space, and if they don't want to come back to the table, that they right to. For the rest of them, we got the courage and the keep trot on. But I understand that there's a space for them people's stories, and their stories then totally valid.
Yeah. Before I open up the floor, do you recall Mr. What was his name? Mr. Good? I think it was Mr. Good when made the protest against the Supreme Court.
Brother, I spent 24 hours sleep out of courthouse with Charlie Goodyear.
All right. This is what I'm saying, that until we understand sacrifices will have to be made, personal sacrifices, it might not benefit we, YaYa. Because you see the sacrifice we had to make, it not benefit me. And it not benefit me. But I'm telling you, I am effecting change that will benefit one, if not all 5 of my children. And I want to take the lick to ensure that when Dean Flowers close the eyes, my picnic and got better Belize to live in. So I also call it selfishness, because sometimes you want buy what I want. If I can't get it, well then to hell with it. No, because if you not resolve it, everybody that comes after you will have to endure that and worse, because as they said, the ship only build up higher and higher. Disappear. So I am saying that we have to understand that our spirit has to change from me to one that is giving and one that is not afraid.
Listen to me. I keep telling people like you. On the song, like people want to tell people, go study, go study, go study. But we want to teach people how to study. So it no matter how much time to send people go study, that not do nothing for people that frustrate them because they're not getting the tools that they need for study. And I'm saying it takes strategy, it takes time, it takes being on a COVID-19. We can't keep doing the same thing and say the same thing and think we're going to get a different result. You know what make people have faith and confidence? When somebody hold their hand through the process, even if the end game is not what they wanted, but somebody stayed with them through the process. That gives that one person confidence and say, you know what? I never get to where I want, but I feel like I've been heard. People respect me and I understand better. So if it happened to somebody, that's what it takes. Each individual walk through, shepherd people through. Most people don't got time for that. Real talk. Anyways, 7:30 gone. So get them people in mic.
All right. So tonight we have Brother Hubert, Brother Miguel with us, of course, and Sister Trish, who hosts for the most part. But the time is now, my brothers, 7:30. Normally we dedicate the second segment of the show for contributions by our participants. And so, Brother Miguel, Brother Hubert, feel free to turn on the camera as well when you guys are speaking, to lend your voice to the conversation tonight.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for that brilliant introduction and that introductory remarks on both sides. I can see both angles to the issue that was raised a couple of minutes ago, handling it from a different perspective, out towards the same end, really, which is to help people and to be a voice for them, protect them. And I can attest to the work that you've done, Breda, and attest also to, I've seen Sista YaYa many times on the front line, but I herself at times, battling that fight, and I say, boy, this lady really, she's really dedicated, she's really convicted in whatever she stands for, which is very, very good. But I've heard, right, Radin, you're on the news tonight talking about the issue regarding COVID, and I was thinking that you will go to his talk about it tonight, also he's mentioned it tonight. Very interesting. I think you're right. You're right on target, my brother. I like the start you're taking as PSU. I hope that you will tell us more about it. No?
But this is my question. I'm like, every minute I see Brother Dean, but I say, oh, sit down, he wants to talk. Only he one. This is the problem, you know. They are Lone Ranger movie. You have to have one collective of people who know the narrative, and you see other people besides just you. The more the same. But go ahead.
No, but yeah, it takes time. I think what Brady explained earlier is that he wants to create a situation in which over a period of time he empowers his own people. It takes time, and for the meantime, you cannot sit no doubt because it takes a while to generate that kind of interest and that kind of commitment. And so,
Brother,
in the meanwhile,
all the people are wrong, Brother Dina, and new people.
Can I finish? No,
No,
but
I'll let you. I had a question while you were presenting your thought. I'm asking if all the people are wrong, Brother Dina, and new people.
But not all the persons have the same kind of commitment, the same kind of drive that Dean has. You know, and so what he has, he better bring it to the fore and make sure it happens, because a lot of people won't have the same kind of drive that he has. You know.
I think I hear what you're saying, YaYa, and I'm paying attention to it, right? Now we have to be careful when we have to be careful how we move though. So I have a first vice president and I have a second vice president. And any one of them, in accordance with the structure of the union, are able to lend a voice to any issue. When you're addressing issues specific to the union, you want always that your leadership be that voice, because you have your membership at the back, right, who's paying attention. So you don't want to be, in my humble view, pulling people from all over the place, but I think the first and second vice president. Now, as the president, I would be always the individual that would be receiving a lot of information. Now, I agree that I should also ensure that I share that information within my immediate circle to say, hey, look at this issue, look at this issue. A lot of these issues require research. They require research. Research either within the public service or research of knowledge on the subject. The issue that Brother Hubert spoke about just now, the angles that we're looking at, it doesn't just come to my head like that, YaYa. I'm not sure it works. You literally have to go now do your research for what's happening within the Caribbean and what are your chances to challenge these things. Now, my entire council, and not only my council, my entire membership knows the issues that we need to address. The question is, how many people are taking out the time? And now the question I guess you would ask is, well, I probably have to teach them how to take out the time to research, but I don't have that time myself, YaYa. And the union tries its best to have training sessions. We have a lot of training sessions. The turnout is not encouraging, but that doesn't stop us. We have to continue training people. And so the same way how people frustrated, as you rightly said, the same way we have a union that really has members who are frustrated with the system and really and truly would just say, look, that's why we elect men. So lead. Because the effort should be a collective effort at all times. But really and truly, people either not have the time or they're frustrated, as you rightly said, that you know what they want, just deal with that. So will you continue to see me at the forefront? I would trust that as the president, you can appreciate the fact that I will always have to be at the front of the battle line. Is there any other member of my council that would want to step on the front of the battle line and deliver the kind of blows that I deliver and tackle the hard issues that I tackle, that I'm not afraid to speak out on? That is yet to be seen. I'm in 6 months into my presidency. No, gal, about about 8 months into my presidency. So we're all learning. I'm learning. This is not one cold seat today, it's a hot seat. I got a call this morning from a member of the media and tell me, boy, then they come for your head, And I'm like, Bedroom I 45, I embrace death. One thing I'm not fear, and I will never fear is death. Because what's worse? What I experience right now worse than death? What if death that the greatest blessings to man? We don't know.
My concern is this, Brother Dean. It's more of the same. I not agree ever with top-down leadership, ever. But that is the traditional way of leading in Belize. So you have to really, what, 2 people? Really, like 2 people. So you want to see me because I have never been one to push membership because I don't want people just to say I got people. I have 1 volunteer for 2021. But that 1 volunteer wants to be here. So as soon as I get the volunteer, I say, listen, you want to run the Zoom meeting. Never run a Zoom meeting before, but because she genuinely wants to be here, I let her run things. So right away, you're in a leadership. So I'm saying, okay, even if the Brother Dean face and say, why people in there? Why back at there? I mean, you could go far by yourself. Like you could go fast by yourself, but you go further with people. So I need to see your back at it. I need to know this is a collective issue and I know you out there playing one to play a hero. It matters to the people who are hearing. They might agree to them, but they're like, you're the look. He what? Wait, counselor, the people that agree that he consult with the people, was it?
And that is the question that perhaps you should have asked first, because look at the issue today. We had a general membership meeting last night. When that memo came out on Monday, my phone was buzzing. We need to hear from you. I said, yo, this matter just come out. I need direction from my council in terms of how will we address it. We can't abdicate the responsibility to the media because while the membership know and they call me, they don't text you the information, but the membership want to know what you want to say. Because, yeah, you know what, the narrative in most of our chat groups, what the union want to do about this? What the union want to do about this? I want to hear what the union want to do. That is the resounding text message in every single, and if you go online, that is what I want to know what the unions they want to do about this. Nobody wants to step forward. So, but we don't operate, I don't think, and people have their own views, but in my humble view, I don't think that I operate strictly from a top-down approach. We take instructions. Our constitution is clear. We take instructions. So when I speak, there are times when people might say, oh, you're speaking on your behalf. I could never be speaking on my behalf. You will always think that I'm speaking on my behalf if you have a problem with my leadership or if you have a problem with me in leadership. But the issues that I address, if you listen to the issues, you'll know that the issues are not directly affecting me. I've said I'm one of the public officers that can raise their hand and say, thank God, for 13 years, I've never been called into my director's office to be lectured, chastised, or issued, not one. I've never had a singular issue with my personal director, my deputy director. I've passed through 4 CEOs, probably 3 or 4 ministers or 5 ministers and 4 CEOs. I've never had, the employers not have one issue. I have no reason to be putting myself out here. So why I'm out here? That because of people who are behind me, or they support me and tell me, yo, you need to continue what you're doing for our behalf. For our behalf. So I don't accept your criticism that my appearance is a top-down approach. I honestly don't accept that because when I speak based on the instructions given to us. But I'll hand it back over to the people there in the session because I think at a Ratland as well because of what you brought up. Yeah.
Okay, now you chair this half hour, so go ahead and find out who else want to talk.
Yeah. So, Brother Hubert, I don't know if you may finish. I know you had I never get clearly what you wanted to get in there, so I'll just allow you to maybe clarify what you were saying, Brother Hubert. And good night, Brother Gibson, and I don't know who's behind the iPhone, but good night, everybody.
Well, I want to tell you, Brother Dean, that I have been where you are, and I had similar experiences that you're mentioning. And it isn't that you really want to do it the way you're doing it. I think it has to do with the timing. And I think as long as in your mind you have the interest of the membership at heart in terms of growing it and making sure that the members are empowered, that is important. It may be that people might see you as different, but you have to satisfy yourself in your own mind that you're doing best to ensure that you uplift your union, so that when you leave from there, it's a better place than you found it.
That's right.
And people might question our motives indeed, and they are, but you have to be in your own consciousness feel that you have made a contribution, and people are going to see it. It's going to tell. Time is going to actually vindicate that, and so don't worry about it. It's going to show that in fact you've been dedicated to the cause and committed to the cause of unionism. But what I wanted to ask you about the Bradine is really the issue that came up on the news today, which is the COVID, the vaccine mandate. It appears as though what was said on the radio yesterday was that in fact the unions was in agreement with it, but now it seems that you're not consulting at all. So no. That was what I wanted to ask about. That is certainly something which I think you have to fight for as a right to say to the court if necessary. You know?
Yeah, I think that the Minister of Public Service is always strategic in how he, well, one, I will say that he's not one of the things that rubs him the wrong way is when his ministry is called out. And in an effort to try to avoid that, he attempted to use that strategy to say, well, they already gone, not to notify them what we are doing. That's not consultation. And so I appreciate the news media also that said that was clear that the Ministry of Public Service contacted, and it was via phone call. So there was absolutely no consultation there, and I made that clear. And in a separate conversation this morning, because again, I do have conversations with people within the ministry. I was clear. Look, when we meet, we will, and the minister or the CEO has any question about anything in terms of being contacted versus consulted, we can hash it out. But I'm pretty quite sure that if we had been consulted, they would have clearly stated whether or not that had happened. The iPhone, Mr. Willoughby, I saw you come on, and good night, Mr. Gibson. Good night again, Miguel. The reason I'm glad that, I don't know if you're hearing me, Sister Willoughby, but as somebody who has dealt with a lot of grievance, if you notice, the topic on the flyer tonight was grievance procedures for Grievance Procedures and Non-Union Members. And what I was explaining to the group here is that the procedures are the same, only that, of course, one may have a representative readily available versus one who might have to go and seek out one or do it on their own. But I don't know if you have anything to contribute, since this is the segment whereby we allow the participants to contribute. You know, so I don't know. And Sister YaYa wanted to discuss this because of a sister who is an agent at the Vital Statistics Unit, who was told that she's banned from this Vital Statistics Unit until January because the Assistant Registrar General believes that he has that authority to ban people from public building. And so that officer has no union or nobody to go to. So I think that is what prompted the conversation tonight.
They say the difficulty with that situation there, I happen to know about the case because it was brought to my attention. But the difficulty what we have with that situation there, way back when, it might have been way in 2007, there was the issue of agents that were discussed both in vital statistics and in immigration. I have no knowledge that the laws have changed to say agents are permitted. So when I say there are bundle of agents now, the vital statistics just flare up, I think that was Pandora box, and I thought that it was a situation that is ripe for confusion, because when this particular person now was told, and she was told this because allegedly one of the officers in there was collecting extra fees, if I might put it like that. The particular agent went and made a report because the fee that this particular person collected affected one of her applications. So she went to speak to the supervisor to say, man, this is the way they go on. And the supervisor flared up and took her to the senior officer. And the senior officer said, you're banned for now till first time till September, no that till January. Right? I think now a situation that really needs to be looked at, because the whole idea that previously you're having issues with people going to make application for birth certificate and making application in people's name and acquiring nationality documents and other security documents by way of those documents that come out of vital statistics. Then suddenly we balloon into this agency thing where anybody seems to be able to go there. To me, it speaks volumes of where the government are with fixing the situations in vital statistics. No government has impressed me yet in trying to fix the situations in vital statistics. In terms of the agency issue, she really has nowhere to go because there's no law supporting the whole issue of agency within vital statistics. So I'm not even sure if I could call it a grievance. For you to have a grievance, you would have to be working with the department to actually have that grievance. So I'm not sure that you can refer to it as a grievance. I'm not even sure that even if the person was in a union, that it's the kind of situation that you can address in the fashion that grievance are traditionally and normally handled. That's my contribution for the moment.
Thanks. Any questions, YaYa? Any comments on what Sister Willoughby contributed?
No, I had no idea we may have this conversation to this extent, and I'm glad it's being recorded. I'll definitely share it with the sister, and I'm sure it'll be very useful. So we appreciate all the input so far.
Excellent. Brother Gibson.
Yes, ma'am. I want to come back to your concern about feeling or the sense that you're out there alone, and when in fact you're not. Because overall, there's a lot of support for the work that unions do. But you have a lot of non-participating union supporters who do not become members, but who for me represent a political mass to be mobilized strategically. Some people will join the union. Most people are afraid, and that is because overall, the unions are weak and the unions are vulnerable. And if you look at the statistics, they'll show that it is the combination of the public service union and the BNTU that are the most that have the most registration of union members in the whole of the NTUCB, which is comprised of about 8 registered unions, of which 4% are private sector. It is telling you that the private sector union representation is very low. We're talking about out of what's the number would be about, it's about 90% of the workforce, the national labor force, is not unionized. The significant numbers of the biggest numbers, sales and sales workers and service workers. And the other elements would be the elemental occupations, as they call them, would be agricultural workers and so on. They're not unionized. That is saying a lot about how the intimidation, it might be subtle, it might be direct, that some workers get to, if you join unions, don't think about union at this place, don't bring that. So it's a question of how many people. What is that saying? That the labor laws are weak, that the whole system is disposed against unions because of the particular type of economic system that we have, which is saying that you need to have labor, that labor can't be unionized, that labor is not getting its, in effect, not getting its rightful share of the national income because it's not mobilized. And so its price is fixed, negotiable in some sectors, but it's fixed. And so what comes in by way of returns to capital investment and what goes to labor are two distinct and differing numbers you're talking about. So I'm saying all of that to say that I come back to my point that when you think of the NTUCB and mobilization and how to reach people, the fact that somebody doesn't stand up for something and say something, I can understand it. Unless you can build up a mass of support, I think the teachers are a very good example of how you can mobilize. But the teachers are the vanguard, and they need more than that behind them for labor force as a whole and union representation to be impacting and effective, including inclusion at the high decision, national development decision-making levels, like this Economic Development Council, which I think the union should be a part of. So, yes, you want to increase membership, and yes, you have education activities, but I think that needs to intensify. That needs to be done 10 times even more. It's a question of what's the approach. For me, it needs to be broader, political. And when I say political, I don't mean party political, but I'm thinking about power for workers to be able to, in strategic ways, even if it is voting in an election, that you know that a certain labor force political group will vote, will want certain things, or even before that election, you would have negotiated something with one or the other of the political parties that's working within it. I don't get to the point of becoming a labor a political party, but just how that strength can be converted. And I think that's where the strategic thinking needs to go. And as part of some rapid exercise to build strength at the mass level, try as much to strengthen unionization and acceptance of unionization, get respect for the ILO mandated, respect for workers' organizations and workers' participation and so on. That's why opening spiel.
It's 7:57.
Yeah, so we are nearing the end of the conversation tonight. Thanks very much for that, Brother Gibson. And you know, as I'm reflecting on the conversation tonight, you know, what really resonates with me, how synonymous what Sister YaYa said about people, you know, that people are frustrated, and because of their frustration and really and truly their lack of hope that they can do anything to get help to be able to change the system, how synonymous that is with what you contributed in terms of people are in the union, but we're just not feeling them. There seems to be no desire or no true will for unification of forces of individuals to be able to step forward and say, that leave it on and our lots of we. And your power, the power you get from we. You don't get that out of thin air. So you're going to take this back if you don't do X, Y, Z. I don't know, you know, it's equal, you know, like with the experience in unionism, but in real life as the sister at the vital stats, how she's feeling in terms of where she goes. You know, it's the same thing, man. So I don't know, Sister YaYa, you have to tell me, how do we teach? How does each one teach one as they
Respect, Brother Dean. And this is what I want you to hear, brother. I have high expectations of you that it won't be a different type of leadership. But you will have to know within yourself what is going to be different about how you lead. And my critique of leadership is not personal.
Yeah.
I want the same thing what you want. So you really need to be able to listen to constructive critique and sit with it and process it and say, what I could use out of this constructive critique? Is it the first time I've heard this critique? Is it different? What? And then just, okay, maybe I have my feelings right now. So I just says from my life experience. So I can't process it right now. But when I chill, I'm like, you know what? It's tough for I hear that. But I said the value in it. And I know how to use it. So I forgot somebody else and I said, listen, but I didn't tell me this, I hurt my feelings, but I know why they said that true. And I know how to use it though. I'm a pride now, I'm gonna go back once, but I didn't know how to use it. So I asked you, Brother David, how you use it? And I just say, unless we have that kind of leadership where could hear the hard things and sit with it and not take it personal, that's absolutely important.
Right.
Yes, sister.
Absolutely. I totally support that thought.
I wish I could see the face.
I've said to Dean
You
consistently, you don't want to see my face, man. My face don't look right.
Mine's neither. Look by my one.
No, I totally support that. I have sat and I've said to Dean, we're in a serious time. We're in a time when political parties seem to want to take punches at the trade union to try and bring them down, but we must not lose the focus for what we represent. Delegation, advice, I told him, I said, when I used to be the president, Mr. Gibson can tell you, because I used to reach out consistently to people who are older than me, because sometimes you get caught up in the noise. You get caught up in your emotions. You get caught up in all of everything with the media. So advice, but more importantly, delegation. You've got to get your full council to be active, and because you can't do it by yourself, you're on burnout. You want burnout. You have to have set responsibilities in accordance with what that constitution represents, and you've got to ensure that people are doing what they need to do. And we have to stop focus on a small thing and really start to think economic mind, political mind, workers mind, employment mind. We've got to have it, because the issues are flying at you. They're flying at you, and some of them are being dropped by the wayside. Like, one of my grandest concerns has been, how could it be that we can have so much SIs that has curfew outside of a state of emergency? Curfews, SIs that are taking away the rights of public officers and the rights of workers. SIs that is not impressing the same diligence that it ought to on the private sector, but on the public sector where they control. That is an issue. That is an issue. Them sending you home to go and work, but they have not changed the social security laws so that if the roof of your house falling on you, who pays? Understand me? Who pays? These are serious and critical things. So I support YaYa 100% in saying you need to consistently get advice. You need to have somebody as your right hand that you can sound things off of before you put it out there. And I hate press releases. I've always told you guys, I hate press releases. I like get right up on the media with their wire long, they're right out there. Because press releases to me not have the kind of dynamic that you as a person have. And I recently taught a course for the public service. And some of the things the public servants told me, I was flabbergasted, but being a trade unionist as I am, I said, no man, everybody needs to come on board. I know this is heavy for Dean. I know sometimes you get frustrated. I've been down that road. But hold your head up and know exactly inside what you serve and get your people to support.
Okay, I know we're way past time, but I know this matter because we, to the extent that Brother Dean succeed in a leadership, that the extent where we succeed. So if I make this brother know, you're going to team of people who genuinely support you. Your support group is absolutely important, Brother D. And if I tell you, if I never trust your brother, you know me and the co-host this, because I got a credibility. So I got great hope in you. Real talk. Great hope in you.
I respect that, YaYa. I respect that, YaYa. And like I said, I think that you're a Belizean citizen and one of those true patriots that I have a lot of respect for, and a lot of Belizeans have a lot of respect for. And when you reached out, I keep telling you, I am the privileged one here to be able to share this space with you. So I'm very grateful because I'm learning from you, and a lot of the courage that I get sometimes is from associated
We
with it.
learn for one okra full basket. Make we try lock up the show
All right.
tomorrow. Bash
Well,
right, you know,
thank-
what's
thank-
that for tonight?
Oh yeah. I noticed that you don't dress up with you. You guys look like you guys drumming tonight. Yeah. Brother Hubert, thank you, my brother Mig. I know things normally pick up the Libertad, brother Miguel. You know they got drumming tonight at Libertad or what? Because I know I used to go up there from time to time, and again when I now reach Grievance, make a hear for you, brother Mig.
Well, good night, Brad. Good night,
night.
everybody.
Right.
Well, Libertad is cool as ever, and the only thing we have left are rain the NBAs, no?
Ooh, nothing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I enjoy the meeting, and I trust Pan you too, Brother Dean. Just like Sister YaYa, I know with the right team and the correct people around you, you will do a good job.
Thanks, my brother, and enjoy the drumming if you know got drumming the Libertad tonight.
Yeah, then got that, yes. Then got drumming tonight.
I know. So all the way and that. I don't got no drum, but I might disturb my neighbors then.
Yeah.
Karaoke. I got my karaoke machine and I go on good when I ready.
All right then. Everybody is still COVID-19, so I hope we don't have virtual experiences within the drumming. Make good choices. Stand firm. Jah willing, we'll be back next Thursday. Thanks,
good night,
everyone.
everybody. Be safe.
All right.
All right.
One love.
And,